Dead Peasant Radio.
We must have faith in each other.
Informing and alerting.
Faith in our ability to govern ourselves.
Dead Peasant Radio.
It's now the most important task we face.
You are listening to Dead Peasant Radio.
Sometimes even anger. Public opinion.
What can we do? Face the truth.
What's going on? I got Adam Capone all the way up in the snowy New Hampshire.
Fresh off the boat from L.A.
Yep, in my own personal bar. We got the fire going. We got, 12-foot high ceiling, so it's real echoey in here, but it's cool. It is what it is.
I like this spot.
Yeah, man. What do you got going on?
Not much, man.
No.
Just got back from an epic comedy vacation to L.A.
Nice.
Stayed with Cousin Bill and Uncle Beth.
Nice.
We, I think I've been trying to figure out, when did I start getting really into going out to see live comedy shows?
It's become habitual with you.
Yeah, it's like our thing.
Yep.
We're like Trekkies for stand-up comedy. I think it was around the dawn of podcasting. You start listening to stand-up comedians talk about their craft and everything, and then you want to see more of it. But we went out to L.A. to the world-famous Comedy Store. It's the second time we've been there. We saw the Saturday night main room show there. They hooked us up with free tickets, so thanks to @ComedyStore on Twitter.
Nice.
Fucking amazing place too. You hear all those comedians talk about how it's got it's got all kinds of lore to it, and it supposedly was haunted. It was owned by a gangster at one point, and all kinds of epic stand-up comedy events.
Yeah.
Pranks have happened there, and fucking Sam Kinison supposedly fired a gun off inside the place a couple times or something.
Yeah, I heard he was wild like that.
And it's got that, you can see, it's kind of got that energy to it, man. Especially when you walk into that old main room. It's just everything, the walls, the floor, the ceiling, everything's black. Yeah. And the only things that are really lit up are the red stage, and they've got these neon lights and these neon sculptures.
Yep.
And they're like cartoon drawings in neon of old time comedians like W.C. Fields and the Marx Brothers and shit like that. Those things are going to be priceless works of art to themselves,
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
So, what makes it that there's such a scene like that in L.A.?
Well, it's because the film industry was
there.
there.
So they're all there trying to get film gigs?
Film gigs, acting gigs, commercial gigs. Yeah. And it's been such a institution.
Yeah.
That, really right on Sunset Strip, you've got the Upright Citizens Brigade that produced a lot of the people that are on Saturday Night Live, and Amy Poehler and The State and all those guys. And then you got the Improv, which is a famous, there's improvs all over the world, but the one in Hollywood is the most famous, where Dom Herrera records his podcast, and it's where Rodney Dangerfield, I think, used to go up all the time and shit like that. Then you got the Comedy Store, which is the mecca for stand-up comedy. Yeah. Any serious comedian that wants to become a real good comedian will put their time in at the store, Yeah. And
it's cool when you walk into a place like that,
It's got a real vibe, a real energy to it.
Yeah.
You can feel it before the show even starts, And it goes you get a $20 ticket there, right?
Yeah.
And it goes from 9 p.m. to 2 a.m.
Wow.
Right? And there's always some wild shit that happens to close. Usually Don Barris closes out the main room, and he's a whole other story. But it's the type of thing where you want to have the energy till 2 a.m. to be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And and so for $20 you can see 10 or 12 headliners.
That's crazy.
Whereas where I live outside of Philly, we'll pay $30, and I'm not complaining about our comedy club because Helium in Philly is one of the best in the country, but we'll pay $35 or $30 for the good seats up front.
Yeah.
We'll drive into Philly, we'll pay for parking, we got to buy dinner,
Yeah.
And that's just to see one headliner.
Yeah.
I'm psyched every time Joey Diaz is in town to go ahead and do that, or Brian Callen or whoever. But in LA at the Comedy Store, you can see all of those guys. Mm-hmm. We saw Mark Maron, we saw Chris D'Elia, we saw Greg Fitzsimmons, we saw Neil Brennan, who was fucking hilarious.
So what do they all get? They have like a weekly residency on the stage there?
Yeah, they make a schedule. I think every Thursday they release the schedule, and it changes. It's always changing. There are people that stay for a while and do shows there every night for a while.
Yeah.
There's guys like Don Barris that have been there every night. Tony Hinchcliffe is practically there every night.
Yeah.
We saw Mark Maron back before in October. He was there. And then he was there again.
Speaking of Mark Maron, simulation theory. I never heard of Mark Maron ever, and I still don't really understand Mark Maron.
No?
I don't really understand his backstory. All I know is I went on Netflix one day and I clicked on the Mark Maron TV show he produces.
Yeah. It's
And
good.
it's good. I watched a couple episodes of it. And then, since then, I've heard his name come up on podcasts.
Yeah, you're getting booblayed. That's
And
what
you
they
just
call it.
brought him up.
Yeah.
And I went from never knowing who this guy is, and
Yeah.
apparently he's been
That
around
happens all the
forever.
time. That happened with Michael Bublé.
Yep. Now, what do you think that is? Do you think that's our magic, or that's Mark Maron's magic this year? It's his year. He's just like Mark Maron's running through the global consciousness.
I think it's you because
Yeah. I
I had the Mark Maron moment a few years ago.
Really?
Like I hadn't heard of him, and then all of a sudden I started hearing him.
Yeah.
And then I actually looked into it and looked up his old stand-up comedy, and
Yeah.
I did recognize him from like back in the early '90s, seeing him on TV or something.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's like an old school Boston comic. Like came up with Rogan and Greg Fitzsimmons and all those guys that
Yeah.
like learned or were coming up in Boston back in like the late '80s.
Man, East Coast culture just makes everything difficult. Like, doesn't matter if it's a hockey player, a UFC fighter, or a comic. When you hear how they explain breaking their teeth in the East Coast, it's always like, well,
People out here are tough, man. You gotta fucking prove yourself.
You do, man. You really do. Well, I mean, growing up, like, I can think of all the kids that I grew up with that didn't get messed with in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And out of the whole group, I can picture multiple times in my mind of situations when we were little kids where I saw them in physical altercations with people.
Yeah.
It's like up here, it's like you literally had to go through scraps. And they weren't like violent, like knock out each other's teeth. It was like.
Sometimes they were.
Sometimes they were. But, for the most part, it was just old fashioned bare knuckle.
Knuckle dusters.
Yeah, like.
Yeah.
Do you think they still do that? Because I look at the kids up here nowadays and they're.
I think anywhere in this country nowadays, kids that get in fights get put on Ritalin and put in therapy.
Isn't that
right
awful?
away and segregated and ostracized.
Isn't that awful, man?
I mean, really, what should happen is little boys should be in jiu-jitsu classes, but
Yeah.
I digress.
There's this new thing, nature schools. They're popping up everywhere. Where kids, there's no classrooms. You drop your kids off. They learn life by nature.
Mm-hmm.
They learn their math, their geometry. Everything's learned out in nature.
Probably just as good a method as any.
Yeah.
Better than sitting in a white cubicle, I guess.
Hey, I've tried that, so I can talk about that. I used to sell satellite dish TV entertainment systems.
That sounds like a nightmare.
So I was fresh out of school, right?
Yeah.
My first week there, I sold more satellite dishes than anyone in the company ever has done, and I got taken out to free lunch, right? So I got to this free lunch, and they're all like making me these promises. And I'm like, oh, wow, this is great. The American dream. It's true. You go to school, you get out, you get a job, and you fucking start making paper dollars quick.
Yeah.
And weeks go by, and I'm still answering phones. And weeks go by, I'm answering phones, and I'm training people.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
Weeks go by. I'm answering phones, training people, and now I have to go to their meetings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because now they think I'm like, oh, he's trustworthy. We can sit him down at the marketing meetings and let him in on stuff.
Yeah.
So now I'm sitting down at these meetings. My pay isn't doing nothing, right? My effort's going in. And then I'm sitting there, and I decided, fucked up on Percocets, because I had my wisdom teeth taken out. And I had to go back to work like 3 days later, and they were all fucked up still. So I took some Percocets. I'm sitting there at the cubicle,
Yeah.
and it's like a bee's nest of cubicles. There's probably 30 kids just like me getting pumped the same fucking dream speech, right?
Yeah.
And in reality, it's like it's a CEO, a marketing guy, and then a room full of salesmen.
Yeah.
So there's really no ladder.
Right.
There's only two people above you, and they're not going anywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just sitting there. fucking tweaking out of my mind. The lady comes up to me. She's like, "Are you all right?" And I'm like, "Nah, I took a Percocet. My fucking teeth fucking kill me. You guys got me here yapping all day on the damn phones, you know." And she's like, "Oh man, that's crazy. You took a Percocet, and I wouldn't be able to move. I wouldn't be able to do nothing." And I'm just like, I don't know what it was. That was the conversation. And I stood up and I was like, "Oh, I'm leaving." And they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm done here. I quit."
Nice.
So I leave there. And dude, they were paying me. Remember, my paychecks were $380 a week, 40-hour work weeks.
Oh, that's bullshit.
Yep. Oh, and the day that I drove in with
How was that?
with my wisdom teeth being all fucked up,
Yeah.
it was a snowstorm, and I drove a Ford Mustang 5.0 rear-wheel drive. Drove 45 minutes to Concord, New Hampshire, in a blizzard in a rear-wheel drive muscle car.
Nice.
My face killing me on a Percocet. Because I just couldn't. I knew I was going to be talking all day.
You should have just quit before you went in.
Dude, $380 a week I left there. I was like, No, like I look at it as, that's righteous, right? How many people would just get up and say, "Fuck this, I'm out of here."
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Good for you.
I felt good, dude. I felt good. And like the next day, I think I went and worked with Donkey Punch and Dave.
Yeah.
Make
so you
make
got out
like
of that
$600 a
cubicle.
week, right?
Got out of that cubicle.
Yeah. Felt free. Anyways, I don't know where we were going.
Well, we got onto that after talking about Boston comedians being
And how
tough
East Coast people
yeah.
are rugged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, but you can. It's funny that talking about it, like it is a different flavor of comedy. Like
Yeah.
if you think about the Boston comedians, you think about like or guys that were big in Boston. Bill Burr, Joe
Yeah.
Rogan, Greg Fitzsimmons. They're all kind of tough. They do
Yeah.
smart comedy.
Yeah.
But they're like kind of no bullshit tough guys because
Yeah.
that's how the crowds were there, and it's different from a lot of the comedians that came up in LA. I think,
Yeah.
but they.
I don't know
definitely-
much about comedy.
Yeah,
I
you
don't-
do.
yeah.
You know
Well,
what's funny?
Well, I do. I know it's funny, but I just don't follow it very much.
Yeah. Well, we had that. So we had to go to the store to see that. If you're going to LA and you don't go to the Comedy Store, you're kind of a dickbag.
Yeah.
So we saw Fitzsimmons and D'Elia and all them guys. But yeah, Neil Brennan really stood out. He was the co-creator of the Chappelle Show. He's been on Joe Hogan's podcast a lot. His set was he just murdered it. And
Yeah.
Mark Maron was really good. And then the next night, Dr. Kim and I went out to a place called The Satellite, which is like a hipster rock club. It normally has bands, but they do a comedy night with that's headlined by Neil Hamburger, who's different. I'll let you make your own decision. Check it
Yeah.
out. But you remember the girl that used to be on the Lavender Hour with Duncan, Natasha Leggero?
Yep.
She did a spot there. She was mostly trying out new stuff.
Yeah.
Some of it was pretty good.
You can tell.
Well, yeah, that's what they use those clubs for.
Yeah.
And a lot of like Joey Diaz, like they only get 15 minutes at the Comedy Store.
Yeah.
Right. So like Joey Diaz will come up, hit you with a couple of jokes that he knows are going to kill you.
Yeah.
Then he'll try out some new stuff, and then he'll give you like a couple of solid jokes and get
Yeah.
out. So that's kind of how they do it. Which is really interesting, especially if you know their acts. Like I've seen Joey Diaz probably a dozen times now.
Yeah.
I've seen his headline in New Jersey and headline in New York and do an hour and 15 minutes of just solid material, So
Yeah.
it's cool to see them do stuff that they're working on or like stuff they thought of on the way over,
Yeah.
Yeah, so she was okay, and then Moshe Kasher was pretty funny, but Brody Stevens was the guy we really wanted to see at that club. And this
Yeah.
was at this like that hipster the Satellite. And just people watching and checking out the new what hipsters are, like the cutting edge hipsters are.
Yeah.
Because we're in Silver Lake in LA, which is like ground zero for hipsterdom. Like anything that becomes hipster in Chicago and Philly starts out there probably 6 months prior, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was hilarious to see. But Brody Stevens is he's just, once you get the joke, like once you get what Brody Stevens is doing and what he is, it's just so goddamn funny.
Yeah.
And it's like most of the time he's not really even telling jokes. It's like what's funny about it is his reaction to his own jokes. Not that he's laughing at it, but like he'll throw out just a regular joke and then be like, "Why aren't you laughing about that?"
Yeah.
He's like, "Explain it to me. That was good." You know? He's fucking great. And so we saw him, and then we got tickets to. You ever see that show on Comedy Central, At Midnight? It's like there's a panel of 3 stand-up comedians, and then the host is Chris
Is
Hardwick.
it on at midnight?
I don't know, because I don't have cable TV, so I just watch it whenever I want.
Oh, yeah.
But it's 3 comedians, and it's like almost like a game show. Like he'll put up some recent internet meme or news story, and then they all got to make a joke about it and get points.
Yeah.
So we saw Pete Williams and Patton Oswalt and Kyle Kinane were on that show. And that was fascinating just to see how, like, TV gets made, you know?
Yeah.
Because we were
It's
there
intense, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you got to keep clapping and, like, yelling a lot.
Oh, you got to participate.
Yeah, you do. But what I wanted to say about it was that Brody Stevens does the audience warm-up for that show, which is why I got the tickets to see that, because he's, like, one of our favorite comedians. And Patton Oswalt was on it. Yeah. And you know his work, right?
Patton Oswalt.
He had that great bit about Sky Cake, about how we talked about it on one of the earliest podcasts we did.
I do remember that.
Kyle Kinane is hilarious too.
Yeah.
And so those 3 guys were, and Pete Holmes. Pete Williams is a UFC fighter. So we got tickets to see that, and Brody Stevens doing the audience warm up is just like perfect for his act. Yeah. It was so fucking funny, man. But we were there for about an hour and a half, I think, or maybe an hour and 15 minutes. And they get, a half-hour TV show is actually about 20 minutes with all the commercials. So out of an hour and a half, which was a solid show, like Brody's warm-up into, like, the comedians coming out and, like, all of they're like, they give 1 or 2 answers. They only really air 1 answer each. Yeah. We were there for about an hour and a half. They could air all of it, but they have to cut out so much shit for TV. Yeah. It really made me aware of, like, wow, we're just getting, like...
the tail ends.
Not the tail ends. We're just getting the average jokes. Because, like, they had to cut out a bunch of shit. Like, there was this whole part where, like, Pete Holmes started humping his podium where the button was, and Kyle Kinane was, like, acting like he was giving him a hand job. It all was in context, so it was actually really funny. I'm not making it sound funny, but it was fucking hilarious. And none of that was on TV. And they had to cut out... They had to cut out this whole part. Pete Holmes made a really, really funny joke, and I'm not even going to tell it because I'll just butcher it, but he referenced roofies. He talked about roofying someone. Yeah. And you can't say that on TV because it's a brand name. Oh. Not because
Roofies is?
Yeah, Roofinol. Oh. So they had to go back, and he had to come up with a different joke, and they had to re-record it. It's so ridiculous. They could have just... If it was a podcast, a video podcast, and they didn't have to abide by the fucking FCC standards and practices, right? It would be a fucking great show, and they could have shot it in a half hour. Yeah, and it would have been funnier. Yeah, we get the lowest common denominator out of cable TV.
Well, we get spoon fed, right? We get spoon fed stuff that they hope won't offend us. Yeah. So whose fault is it? Is it our fault for being offended, or is it their fault for freaking being sallywusses about it?
I don't think we're offended. I don't think people are offended. I think we're told that we should be offended. You know what I mean? Yeah. You could sit...
No, older people are offended. See, we still got that, like, the today, the 50-year-olds and up. Yeah. Some of them they're real. They'd be like, oh, my God. They get uptight
if you drop an F-bomb or make a roofie joke?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, they won't be around much longer, I guess.
Well, no, and they're cable listeners, so...
Yeah, they're tuned into an AM signal, I think. I think it's done. Like, Ari Shaffir's Storyteller show. Ari Shaffir's another hilarious comedian, and he has on all of my favorite comedians to tell long stories on that Comedy Central show. Yeah. The best ones are the uncensored ones that they only put on the internet. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think they probably get more viewers and more views from that shit.
Yeah. That's, hey, they benefit from the internet for sure, So fuck it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
You can't put out non-risky stuff on the internet.
I have no idea how people are paying $150 to have cable TV when...
Well, they've had it since they were babies.
I was up at I was staying in one of Master Plan's vacation homes last night up in the mountains.
Matt's the
He's
plan,
got cable TV, of course, you know.
Yeah.
And I was there. I didn't even
sucks.
turn it on. I plugged in my computer and watched Netflix.
Yeah. Oh, back to like the place, the comedy house there.
Comedy store?
The comedy store.
Yeah.
You said that they think it's haunted.
Yeah, there's any comedian that's been there for, a few years has a ghost story about it. And I don't remember any specific ones, but most of it stems from the fact that it was owned by a gangster before it was a comedy store.
Yeah.
It was called Ciro's Nightclub. And, supposedly people were murdered there and, bodies were cut up in the basement and shit like that.
Yeah.
So, once a place has a reputation like that, it might as well be haunted.
Yeah,
and then
people's imagination.
and then you throw on top of that the fact that, like, comedians that are usually drunk and on drugs are passing out on the stage and sleeping in this big, creepy, empty room by themselves.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of ghost stories about that place.
Well, you grew up in a haunted house, so what's your like? If someone said, do you think this place is haunted or not? Just from what you've seen, would you say yes or no?
Well, let me preface this by saying I don't believe in ghosts.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say that place is haunted. It's got so much has happened there, and so much energy has been put out. I mean, just hundreds of people laughing hysterically alone for a number of decades in one room will leave a resonance of energy. So you might as well call that room haunted. It's haunted with laughter.
It's entwined into the wood. Like if they ever tear that place down, you want to get the beams.
Oh yeah.
You know
what? I was sitting there before the show started, drinking my Jack and Coke, looking around at those beautiful neon signs that they have.
Yeah.
And I just thought I would love to have one of these. They have one of what's his name? Man on the Moon. Andy Kaufman.
Oh yeah.
When you first enter the hallway into the ticket booth at the main room, the first one you see is one of Andy Kaufman, and it's just so great.
Yeah.
I would love it's a black, it's like they're like 4 foot by 4 foot or something, and it's just a cartoon head.
Yeah.
In yellow, red, and white neon.
It's
on a black
crazy
background.
how like
so cool.
That one place, so many people that were more than people. They were like entwined in almost everybody's, conscious.
Yeah.
Like everybody knew of them.
So much culture has come out of that place because so many like stand-up comedians, their ideas have become movies and TV shows and just themes and jokes that other people have stolen and told at the water cooler. So much of our culture has come out of that place. It's incredible, Like that's back where guys like Tim Allen were doing stand-up before he became the Tool Man,
Tim the Tool Man Taylor.
Richard Pryor used to be there all the time. All kinds of shit.
So right here on Wikipedia it says Unsolved Mysteries. The Comedy Store was featured in an episode of the supernatural documentary Unsolved Mysteries, which told reports of the Comedy Store being haunted. Comedians Blake Clark and Joey Gaynor told their stories on their encounters in the paranormal. That was a creepy show. You remember the music that would play in that?
I don't know.
Beginning of the Unsolved Mysteries.
Oh, Unsolved Mysteries. Deenie, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, dude, that stuff was creepy. And the beginning of the X-Files, too. It's amazing what you can do with just sound alone.
You know what? I was thinking about this driving up here because what did I hear? I heard some old rap song that had, I think, the Michael Myers music in the background. And it made me realize that a lot of like gangster rap uses like horror movie music kind of sounds. And I was wondering,
like, Tech Nine did a track.
When did that start to happen? I remember the Ghetto Boys doing it.
Did you listen to the episode on the Higher Side Chats where the guy came on and talked about conspiracies in hip hop?
Yes.
That's fascinating stuff.
They talked about that one there's that one famous letter, that the anonymous letter that came out back in like the 90s or something.
I don't know.
That a guy claimed to be part of the he was a music producer, and he was invited to this party, and it was all just like big high level music producers, and they met with these guys that claimed that they worked for the private prison industry, and that what they were doing was investing in music producers, and what they wanted them to produce was basically what is now gangster rap music that glorified drugs and crime and gang life.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to have a steady supply of prisoners.
Makes sense, dude.
It's an interesting... I mean, there's no way of corroborating it or...
Well, what came first, the chicken or the egg, right?
Right, exactly. Exactly. Whether that meeting took place or not, those were the results that...
Remember this?
May be able to help solve a mystery.
That's what I was just looking for on YouTube. Yeah.
I'm gonna get you. Remember, like, you'd be watching this in a dark room, and like you couldn't see into the corner of a dark room, and your hair would stick up in the back of your neck.
Yeah, it was creepy. It was scary back in the day when there was 3 TV channels. You know?
Yeah.
It's funny though how that type of sound has become synonymous with gangster music, because now if you listen to any, quote unquote gangster music today, that it has that vibe to it in the background. Sinister, yeah.
Yeah,
horror.
you can achieve that with a couple minor chords. It's really easy.
Yeah.
It's certain frequencies affect the human emotions in certain ways. That's all it is, Like, if you're gonna write a sappy love song, you're gonna have a lot of G's and C's in it.
Really?
Those chords, they affect you that way. In hip hop, they use a lot of that minor, really sinister sound.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy to achieve.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if you came to me and you were like, I want to produce a song and I want it to I want it to pump people up,
Yeah. Well,
I would
comedians
already
do that
know
too,
what
right?
chords to start with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Comedians do that too. You think about like the way that Tom Segura, he just kind of stands there and talks kind of in a low, sort of steady voice.
Yep.
And then when he hits you with a punchline, it's the same sort of a tone.
Yeah.
And part of what's so funny about it is that you're like, oh shit, he just said something really fucked up actually.
Yeah.
But a guy like Brody Stevens is up really high and loud, and he gets your energy up there too, so that like he almost doesn't have to tell a joke to make it hilarious.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I say you can be the top of the pyramid because it's all in how you think,
You can be your own capstone.
You can be your own cornerstone, yep. Bob Marley was obsessed with foundations.
With building foundations?
In his music a lot, yeah. He would use it as a metaphor to life. And he has one song, you've got to build your love on one foundation. I don't even know if those are the right words, right?
Yeah.
And then he's got another song where he goes, the stone that the builder refused ends up as the main cornerstone.
Really?
Yeah, and it was because his dad was a white mason who moved to Jamaica, who was a builder, who knocked up Bob Marley's mom, who was a local woman.
I did not know that.
Okay, so he was a bastard child who was half Jamaican and half English. Okay, and the father basically refused him, ignored him, didn't pay any attention to him. And he had lots of kids with his normal. Of course, he had a wife, Yeah. And that's what that song's about. The stone that the builder refused ends up as the main cornerstone.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that he was interracial. Mm-hmm. I thought he was just a black dude.
Unfortunately, no. He was half white.
Well, that's okay, I guess.
Hey, do you think if Martin Luther King had any white in his bloodline anywhere along the line, they would have brought it out?
Probably not. No.
They weren't going to come out and when Bob Marley was hitting and go, hey, by the way, he's half white.
Even though our so-called President Barack Obama is half white.
Yeah, and is blood related to the Bushes.
They still call him a black guy.
What do you think about that? Him being blood related to the Bushes.
It comes as absolutely no surprise.
We're
looking... It's the cult of the dragon for sure. Wow. And look at the last 30 years of we've had a Clinton or a Bush.
Yeah, and like if you say Clinton Bush, it almost sounds like a sex move.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Like you got Clinton Bushed last night.
which sounds fantastic. But our country's been getting Clinton Bushed for the last 30
We're
years.
getting
and it
Clinton
sucks.
Bushed.
Yeah, we're all getting Clinton Bushed right in the ass.
Clinton
and
Bushed.
then, obviously Obama is,
Right in the gore.
is owned by the same companies that own them or they own. And now
Who's
we're
going to
looking
be
at
the next president?
a Clinton or a Bush. It's going to be Jeb Bush or
Hillary Clinton.
that dude, Hillary Clinton.
That dude. See, that's classic comedy right there. Yeah. Sons of Khalil used comedy, but we didn't do any, we didn't plan our, in-between song stuff.
No.
We just winged it.
Some of
Some of
my
it made
favorite
the
parts.
album,
Yeah,
when we're like, you'll get
So-
5
subtle.
cock slap across the face, and that's 5 cocks.
God, not from me, but from all of us. Yeah.
And the room was packed. It
I
was
like,
smoky.
I like the tirade that Numbtooth goes on when he's roasting you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Sons, I can't stand them.
Sons, I can't stand them. That was hilarious.
That was
3
very funny.
eyes.
I'll
No,
bowl
3
that
holes.
motherfucker.
Your eyes in your mouth. I'll bowl that motherfucker down the lane. You want to freestyle battle this kid? Numb
What did he
tooth.
say? He said that his hairline's receding to his ass crack.
Hairline kid.
That dude's funny.
Yeah, man. He's quick-witted, too. He's someone that could probably write a comedy.
Yeah,
He
I
could,
don't
he
know.
could write an hour.
It's hard to do.
He could do it.
Comedian will spend a decade writing an hour.
Yeah.
It's just like rock and roll, right? You spend 20 years making your first album, and then they want your second one in
Oh, fuck,
9 months.
Dude, Sons of SOK, that was the stuff we were performing live. That took us 2 years to make, and it was 40 minutes on stage. And 40 minutes on stage ain't shit.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a good crowd. It goes by so fast, it's over before you know it.
Imagine doing 40 minutes of stand-up comedy. That's why it's
No, I'm
amazing.
not a comedian.
Guys like fucking Bill Burr or
Yep.
Louis C.K. that can just write an hour of killer material every year.
Because I do things my way. You know that. If someone put a gun to my head and said I had to become a professional comedian this year,
Yeah.
you know what I would do? I would just master the 15-minute set. And whenever anyone would ask me to do an hour,
That's easier said than done too, partner.
well, no, I'm not saying I would definitely hire help.
You hired Tony Hinchcliffe.
I would hire help. Yeah, I can do the stage thing.
Yeah.
But I definitely would need help writing the material.
I could see you being a good, from a performance standpoint, you would be good at it because you're
Yeah.
so used to being in front of a crowd.
I
and
wouldn't-
You can freestyle rap, which is.
And I'm truly when people say that they're emotionless or that they really don't care what other people think.
Yeah.
Most of the time, people are bullshitting you. I really don't care about you.
No, yeah, that's true.
I'm sorry.
That's true, and everyone
Yeah.
actually knows that.
Yeah. Luckily, I'm smart enough just to not to go Dexter on people. It's bad. But anyways, yeah, you'd have to hire somebody. But if anyone ever asked me to do an hour, I would lose it on them. What? A fucking hour? Do you know who you're talking to? I don't do hours.
Yeah.
I don't work for one whole hour ever. I'm retired.
You wouldn't have to because you could do 40. Let's say, by some miracle you did have, or you hired someone to write you 40 solid minutes.
Yeah.
You would be fine at doing 20 minutes of crowd work. You would be really good at that shit.
Yeah.
Just going out, hey, where are you from?
Yep.
You pick out the drunkest looking guy in the audience and you ask him a question really quick and then you make
Yeah.
fun of his stupid reaction.
Yeah.
Or if somebody, for God forbid, ever heckled you, you'd be great at that. Because
Did
that's freestyle battling. Right
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Did you ever hear of the story of mine when we saw that guy, the little Chinese guy?
I don't know who you mean.
Oh, dude, we seen him in Boston 3 years ago. What the fuck's his name?
Bobby Lee?
Bobby Lee.
He's Korean.
Korean.
Oh, man.
Sorry. Hey,
That's all right.
I don't know about races.
Bobby Lee, we saw Bobby Lee at the Comedy Store the first time we were out in October. He's fucking hilarious.
Oh my god, dude! He killed it, and
Yeah,
I was
he's a
there
pro. He's a real pro.
on a bachelor party.
Yeah.
And he called Trevor, my buddy Trevor, up on stage, the Bachelor. And Trevor, in his own right, is a fucking wild bastard, right?
Yeah.
And he puts him in a chair, and Bobby Lee starts dancing like a stripper. And
Oh, Jesus
and like
Christ.
jumps on Trevor and
Yeah.
starts grinding on him, right?
Yeah, and he's built like SpongeBob.
And he's wearing like nothing. He's got no underwear on.
No, he loves getting naked.
His pubic hair's hanging out, like
Yeah.
he made that part of the joke.
Yeah.
And he bends over, he puts his head on the ground, and he flips up so his butt's like on Trevor's chest.
I love it when strippers do that.
And his legs are like up past Trevor's face like this.
Yeah, yeah.
And puts his package right in Trevor's face.
Oh,
and Trevor,
fuck.
without even thinking, dude, because like I said, he's crazy in his own right, grabs two of like a chunk of Bobby Lee's pubes and pulls them out. Freaking pulled him out. Dude, you have never seen a place erupt. It erupted, dude.
What did Bobby Lee do?
He flung off of him and was just like I could see he was in shock himself. he probably loved it because that
of course made
dude,
it hilarious.
That place laughed like people couldn't stop laughing
Oh,
from that.
man.
It was so freaking funny, dude.
You know what we got to do? We got to get Bobby Lee on the podcast and ask him if he remembers that. I'm sure he remembers.
Dude, he's
it.
got to
He's
remember
sober, I think. So
He's got to remember it. It was so freaking
goddamn.
funny, dude.
that's terrific.
We have pictures of it.
Bobby Lee is so fucking funny, man. When we saw him, I remember he made his joke was because you know how he looks, right?
Yeah.
He said, "I got a new role in the SpongeBob show. I'm playing a scallop, or in the new Little Mermaid or something." Sorry, Bobby, I killed your joke.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's on David Cho's podcast a lot in the DVD ASA.
Yeah.
If you ever listen to that.
Man, I've got about 10 podcasts right now I listen to.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a lot that I listen to. Too many, maybe. I don't know.
Well, I can't listen to FM radio at all.
Well, there's no point. Why?
I haven't
so
listened.
you can hear a Target ad? What for?
I haven't listened to it in a very long time. I'm just over it. I'm so over it.
It's done.
Done.
It's done. Phil Hendry is one of my favorite podcasts, and he was talking about how people aren't even getting paid to be on radio anymore, even on satellite.
Really?
The people are doing those shows for free.
Yeah.
For
Promotion.
exposure.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And people, because Phil Hendry I think he does really well with like subscription-based podcasts.
Yeah.
For what he does. And he said that people ask him all the time, like, when are you going to be back on radio? Are you going to get back on radio? And he's like, what the fuck would I do that for? For less money? More hassle? Like, it's
Evolve,
done.
dude.
Yeah.
Look,
Radio's over.
You'd be amazed at how many people, like I grew up with, I'll be like, yo, and I tell them about Dead Peasant Radio, and they're like, how do you listen to it? And I'm like, give me your phone.
I know.
And I download the app, and I subscribe,
Yeah.
and I'm like, now whenever you're
just
in
did
Wi-Fi,
that for our parents.
yeah, and it updates it.
Yeah.
So I mean, get on it. You know,
It's so easy. Go into
and you
your
don't
app
have to listen
store.
to commercials at all ever again. You can drive in your car, no commercials,
And you can listen to podcasts on a Droid or an iPhone.
and you can make your own freaking podcast.
By
You
all
know?
means.
Yeah. I mean, dude, even businesses, dude. You sell solar panels. Well, you should do a podcast on solar panels. You know? Give it away as a free report to people to gather their email addresses so you can sell to them later.
Not bad.
Just make shit.
Yeah.
Use podcasts, people.
Yeah, like let's say you're an air conditioner installer.
Yeah.
Make a podcast explaining all the different models that you
Sell.
sell,
Yeah.
how you do different installations, why your crew is good.
Yeah, your unique selling
Put
position.
it up on iTunes or on your own website as a podcast.
YouTube and iTunes.
so that your potential customers can listen to it on their way to work and be like, oh, maybe I'll buy a furnace
Yeah.
from this guy.
And when you do a bid on a job, before you send them the proposal, send them links to your podcast.
Right.
Right? So they'll go listen to your stuff, and then you send them a proposal for your work. And then they're going to be like, who are they going to hire? They're going to hire the guy that they know knows shit.
Yeah. Somebody they've seen and heard perhaps install one. It'd be like if you're a dude that does furnaces or you say you put in crown molding,
Yeah.
make a little fucking podcast, a video podcast that people can watch you doing it.
Yeah.
It's so easy.
Yeah. It's got to be done, dude. Podcasts are the way of the future because we need to get away from people pushing products in our faces.
Yeah. And plus I think it leads to real democracy because it does give everyone
Totally.
much more of a voice.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, listen, when my kid starts asking me about religion, I'm going to be like, all right, bud, you're going to be doing yard work for the next 2 weeks listening to podcasts.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because I ain't teaching you nothing
Just-
about religion.
Just have them read Daniele Bolelli's "Create Your Own Religion."
Yeah.
that book is
That's a lot of like
fucking amazing.
Bruce Lee's kind of.
it's the Jeet Kune Do of philosophy.
Yeah. Taoism. It's beautiful, easy,
Uh-huh.
makes sense. There's no invisible things to believe in. You don't have to take anything on faith. You can go touch it with your own two hands. Yeah. Hey, tell the people about your upcoming show. I got to put a log on the fire.
All right, sweet. April 18th. I'm excited about this one. The gallery is called Sidetracks in New Hope, Pennsylvania. It was in a smaller gallery, and luckily they've been doing such great work for the community that they're now moving up to what used to be the New Hope Chamber of Commerce store, front offices, whatever you want to call it. The important thing is they're moving to a space that's twice as big. So I'm going to have twice as much work. I'm going to be working twice as hard between now and then to finish things up and to create new things. But April 18th through, I think, May 25th, my work is there. Please come on down. We're going to have a hell of a party from 6 to 8 on April 18th. We're going to have the whole family in the town. It's going to be a big after party, maybe up at my house, maybe at Carla's. I don't know yet. We'll let you know later.
Cool.
Yeah, all new work. I'm excited about this.
Nice.
I'm going to have you help me come up with a name for the show.
All right. And I think we're going to put a donation thing on the website.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and you
How's
know
that
what would be
gonna work?
cool is if you made like a little piece that maybe at the end of the month we take all the people that donated and we
Nice.
pick a name out of a hat and they can get the piece.
The sculpture bomb.
Yeah, the sculpture bomb.
We'll call it the sculpture bomb.
The sculpture
I'm in.
bomb. You
Count
down
me
to do
in.
that? All right.
Count
yeah,
me in.
we actually have a Dead Peasant Radio is evolving.
I'll do one like that every 2 months.
All right, deal. I'll set it up. I'll put the details on the website,
Yeah.
which is deadpeasantradio.com. And
It'll be a small sculpture so we can ship it to you.
Yep. Yeah. Oh yeah, small.
Yeah.
Tabletop.
Yeah. Tabletop little thing that hangs on the wall.
One of a kind.
Of course, everything I make
Nice.
is one of a kind.
And
That's a good idea.
We have a phone number too.
We do have a phone number.
Yeah,
now.
so if you want to call and leave a voicemail,
What is that number?
It's 603-287-4718.
603-287-4718.
4718.
So people can call that and leave us a voicemail?
They can leave us a voicemail.
And what would you leave on a voicemail to us?
I don't know, anything. It's stuff you want us to put on. Tell us that what you want to hear about. I
Yeah,
know.
here's the disclaimer. Anything you leave on that voicemail can be replayed and broadcast through Dead Peasant Radio.
Yep.
So don't be fucking around and giving us your bank numbers unless you want us to broadcast it or take all of your money.
Yep. Yeah, so it's 603-287-4718.
Call in. I'm excited now. Our listeners can call in and rant.
Oh, well, no, because we don't drop these down live.
No, but they can record it and we can plug it into our podcast if we like what we hear.
Yeah, totally.
Call in with questions or comments, or if you're stuck in traffic and you want to bitch about how your tax money is being spent,
Yeah.
or you want to talk about how it is that you should make your own crab rangoons,
Yep. Yes.
let us know.
So 603-287-4718.
Boom. I like that.
Bam.
That's like a crowdsourced content for your podcast.
Yeah, well, look, this is the podcast for and made by everyday people who aren't looking
Yeah.
to destroy the earth into mining.
That's
You
fucking
know.
democracy right there.
Yeah, I
man.
mean, so, we're down, man. Hey, you send me a good hour-long rant. Maybe I'll drop it as a whole podcast.
Shit, maybe we'll have you in as a guest.
Yeah, maybe we'll have you in as a guest.
I like that.
So, yeah. Anyways. Can't wait for this cold weather to be over, though, man. It's been making my bones ache.
Yeah, it kind of sucks. I got a little bit too used to the 80-degree weather out in L.A.
Oh, here we go, dude. I am the most least traveled individual.
Are you?
Yeah.
Have you ever left the country? You've been to
I've
Mexico?
been to Canada.
You've been to Canada. What about, you've been to
Never
Mexico?
been to Mexico, no.
Oh, Jeebus.
No,
Canada doesn't even count.
I've been to New
That's
Orleans.
like going to Maine.
New Orleans. I've been at the Vegas airport. I've been in Los Angeles. I've been in Orlando. I've been in Boston, Massachusetts. And then I've been anywhere from like Pennsylvania to the tip of Maine I've been to, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, man.
And you know what? It doesn't bother me much.
It would if you had been places. Like, the more you travel, the more you want to travel. Like, I've been to Hawaii and Paris, Amsterdam. Oh, God, I got to go back to Amsterdam.
Yeah.
You know, all around the country.
I don't know what to say about it. I'm kind of, I don't know. Maybe I'll be one of them guys that travels later in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a few more spots
you
I
know,
want to hit. I want to go to Easter Island, man.
2 places I've been to where I think I was on a direct energy port of the earth or something.
You were on one of the Matrix vortexes?
Yeah, was Key West.
Oh,
Key
yeah?
West had a weird, like, vibration to it. Like, that was, like, tight, fast, like, zzz, like, you just felt like you were zooming there. Like,
That's how I feel in Vegas.
you know? Just fucking 95 degrees at 2 in the morning. It's pitch black, you know? It's just like, I had a really cool vibe there. And New Orleans in the French district.
I've never been to New Orleans.
Creepy place, man.
Yeah?
Evil. You can smell it. You can sense it in the air.
Yeah.
You can see it in people's
They
faces.
got a lot of that voodoo, man. That Rougarou come up out the swamp, he gonna get you.
That was such a good show.
When's that
Cryptid,
coming back?
I don't
Cryptid
think
is
it
so
is.
good.
Dude, listen, I know we talk
damn.
a lot of shit about network television, but they made a gem that deserved awards. Was the show called Cryptid.
So good.
It was
Sexy
so freaking good.
cryptozoologist.
Oh, man, wicked sexy. It was such a
Crazy
badass
voodoo
show.
monsters and
It was so good, and the creepy family that lived in the swamp. Oh, it was so good. No love story.
I like that one guy, that Rougarou. He talked kind of like that with his bottom jaw. He was like, that Rougarou gonna come and get you, man. Once that Rougarou get a hold of you, that's it, man.
Oh my god! And then they only had like 6 or 7 episodes.
Yeah, that should have kept going. No, I mean, network TV isn't the problem. Like, there are good shows being produced, even like goofy shit, like Falling Skies, that alien show. I love that show.
Yeah.
I like watching Vikings, and I'm all about the fucking Boardwalk Empire shows and shit like that. It's the way that it's packaged through these cable companies is total bullshit.
Yeah,
The censoring and the retention of material, it's just dumb. It's gonna all be a la carte, just like everybody wants it to be, and it's a dying industry. To hang on to that,
it's a very old business model,
right? It's an AM signal.
So, like for example, when I was out really trying to get at it as like an artist, it was still the old school music business model. You know, like
which is what
which was go to this recording studio, print a CD, get the CD in all the local retail places, get out and play live.
Yeah.
Right? Sell your CD live.
And then the goal is ultimately, though, to get a major record label contract.
The goal
right?
is to either be able to generate enough income as a live performer to live the lifestyle you want to live. Everyone's different. Or get a nice big fat deal, get some nice record company checks.
Right.
Get put on big tours, get put on FM radio.
Right.
And now it's like, it's not only different, that's almost gone.
Yeah.
And for me, I love it because, dude, I hated performing live. And it wasn't a nervous thing. It was more the work and the late nights. You know me, man.
You put a lot of prep in.
You do. It's tons of work, and it's stressful. And then,
especially with a group of people.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do now is, with the music I make, I'm just going to drop it on Dead Peasant Radio, right? I'm not going to drop it on iTunes and all that stuff. My music's going to be only available exclusively through deadpeasantradio.com.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do like $1 a year subscription fee, and you get access to anything I make throughout the year.
$1 a year?
Yeah.
That seems like a low price.
It's very low, but I figured if 100,000 people like what I make and want to get like 5 or 6 songs a year for free.
You produce way more than 5 or 6 songs a year.
No, I haven't been. So this is not only motivation for me to get back in the studio,
Yeah.
but it's just motivation in general.
Yeah.
So
I'm all for this.
and then I figured, dude, I don't have to go out and then in return, you get the free podcast.
You
So
reach
when
a
you're
wider
driving,
audience, that's for
yeah.
sure.
So when you're driving or you're working, and you want to listen to like just conversations and if you're listening to one podcast, chances are you're a podcast listener and you listen to a bunch of podcasts. I don't need to tell you what the hell a podcast is,
Right.
So you get that, and then you get the music thing for free, And whoever donates into that, I'll also put into the sculpture bomb.
Nice.
Yeah.
This is progress.
We're
I like
making
the meeting of the
progress.
minds.
Yeah.
I like this a lot.
Yeah. I'd like to do a donation bin too. I'd like to get an ASCAP license so we can play any song we want by any artist, and do maybe 1 or 2 a week, 3 hour just music blocks of righteous music that stands for what Dead Peasant Radio stands for.
So you would do like your own just DJ show, like your own radio show? Where you play
basically, I think what I'd do
10
is
or 15 hits you like?
I'd come into
intro them?
I'd come into the studio.
Yeah.
I do it every Wednesday night after,
Oh, dude, I would love that so much just because I love listening to music. I hate looking for it.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to listen to the radio.
Yeah, so Dead Peasant Radio wants to do it. We need to get some money, though, It costs money
to get that.
Because we can't be getting sued and shit.
Right. Well, let's see what happens with the sculpture bomb. And
yeah, we'll get involved. I got to do some work on the website. But, hey, we're looking for an intern, so if there's some, college kid out there who's looking to design a
cheerleader,
website, yeah. We get it done, man.
Nice.
But so we were talking earlier about Crowley, how I recently discovered, and I haven't done research into it yet, but the couple podcasts I have listened to, I've gotten the general opinion that he was kind of victimized in the media.
Well,
which we see a lot today, and
he also victimized the media quite a bit. He was a really bright guy, and he did a lot of manipulation of his own image, and really of the culture around him. He did a lot of his own manipulation. That's what he did. Really, that's what he was a master of. He was a magician, and magicians, magic is the focusing of energy, whether it's labor energy or thought energy or subconscious energy or fear or love, and that's what he did. He focused a lot of energy onto himself to get across his sort of message and agenda. Yeah, that was the AA and the Order of Thelema.
Do you know about the whole Egyptian pyramid thing with him?
About how he channeled the Book of the Law through Iwas, the demon or spirit.
That's
Iwas.
what he claims.
Yeah, that's what he claims. I don't know how literal he was being, and I don't know how honest he was being about that. But we do know that he was big into these magical ceremonies, most of which involved a lot of hashish and meditation, and he was deep into alchemy and the study of Western esotericism.
You know what's crazy is he looks just like the big bald guy from the Addams Family.
He does look like Uncle Fester. Yeah.
He looks exactly like Uncle Fester.
He does look exactly like Uncle Fester. If you want to learn more about about Thelema and OTO, there's a podcast called Thelema Coast to Coast.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, because it's an active, I don't know if they call themselves a religion, but that's what it is. It's an active religion with a lot of really intelligent people actually involved in it,
It's fascinating. But
it is fascinating. There's so much lore around Aleister Crowley. Like supposedly he was Barbara Bush's real father.
Really?
Oh yeah, because he practiced all kinds of sex magic rituals, and she was engaged to some, I forget who. Her mother was engaged to some dude, some Cult of the Dragon elitist, of course, and she went away on a trip and came back, and she went to England and was supposedly partying with Crowley and partook in some of these sex magic rituals, came back and got married, and Barbara Bush, George Bush's mother, was born not too long after the wedding type of a thing.
Yeah.
And they kind of look a lot alike. Barbara Bush and Aleister Crowley. So there's that, and supposedly he was sort of commissioned by Churchill to come up with a symbol to be as powerful as the Nazi swastika, and he actually came up with the peace symbol. So that circle with what they say is the dove's foot, but is really a bisected circle with, what is the proportion? Two golden ratio proportion triangles off of the bisected center of the circle is what the peace sign is.
Yeah.
And it's an ancient magical sigil that Crowley supposedly invented to combat through, the subconscious of, people that were consuming culture back then, the power of the swastika.
Yeah. Sacred geometry.
Yeah, there's all kinds of interesting ways. Supposedly he worked for the Secret Service and he worked for British Secret Intelligence, and people say that he formed a lot of the direction of Thelema, and then others say that he was just infiltrating them for the governments, and who knows?
Was it kind of a Waco thing that happened to him?
No, because it's totally different. Totally different. He was a pretty powerful guy. He rolled in some elite circles. He was born into a wealthy family in England, and had the best of educations, and was a painter.
A redcoat.
Yeah, and a mountain climber. He very well could be part of the cult of the dragon, you know. But
he could have
Waco was David Koresh. He was just straight up murdered. That was all about, the beginning of what we see is now the police state. That was back when, because that was all fucking Janet Reno. Yeah. And they just straight up murdered those people. They were like, "We want your guns. We're gonna burn you to the ground and take it." And if you remember, that was on every TV channel, every TV. Everyone knew about that.
Everything.
And they wanted to make sure that
they had to frame OJ to make us stop paying attention to it.
Yeah, they wanted to make sure everybody knew that if the government wants to come in and get you, we're just coming in.
Yeah.
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 That's what that was all about.
Federal, bang, bang. That's all,
Yeah, I look at those things as rituals as well.
They're all ritualistic money grabs.
You know what's creepy about all of these events that happen like that? How they all have this ritualistic bent to them. I saw they had that big demonstration over in Paris over those so-called terrorist shootings at the newspaper, and they had all these world leaders in their suits at this big demonstration. And there's a wonderful photograph somewhere online of all of these world leaders almost forming a triangle. And they're all wearing black suits, so it almost makes this black triangle. It's shot from overhead.
Yeah.
And they wanted to make a point that Barack Obama didn't show up, so there was a chair sat at the top of the triangle that was empty.
Really?
Which looks just like the all-seeing eye at the top of the pyramid, and has every, connotation of a ritual that would be used to usually when there's an empty vessel or an empty chair, it's because you're trying to summon some being or demon or entity, and you're inviting them to this place.
Yeah.
And that type of thing plays out in so many different false flag events and news stories that get crammed down our throat. They're so ritualistically based that you could believe that powerful magicians like Crowley are actually pulling the strings, in our governments.
Yeah, well, if there's strings, they need to be pulled. Or cut. Else they'll just get dusty and break.
No, we're dead peasants. We're all about cutting those strings.
I just want to live day to day being able to do exactly what the fuck I want to do. Whether that's going bodyboarding, skiing, swimming, laying in bed. Yeah. I'm sick of having to wake up and focus on the Freemasons' greenback.
It's all a big, that's a magical process too, which is why there's all those ancient alchemical symbols on a dollar.
The fucking Knights Templar were bankers.
Yeah.
That's
what money is. It's a magic trick to focus human energy.
What's creepy about them is not only were they bankers, but they were also fucking killers. Those guys were the serious swordsmen, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You know, research shows that the Knights Templar wasn't a bunch of pushover fat guys. They were wearing steel freaking suits and riding horses and swinging swords that weigh more than a baby.
Yeah.
You know, they were badass dudes who ran banks.
And now we have J.P. Morgan Chase and the
now we
Federal
have
Reserve Bank.
We
And
don't
they're
have
backed
much.
up by Blackwater.
We don't have much. But what we do have is we have symmetry. That's the only breadcrumb.
Symbolism?
Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Symbolism?
Yeah.
We have symbolism to trace. It's all we have.
Mm-hmm.
And you can trace, they're all connected.
Yeah.
And it's all over our money. And it's in the design of our cities.
Yeah.
You know? And for anyone I mean, JFK came out and told you there are secret societies that run the world.
Yeah.
Eisenhower warned us. People still to this day, oh, you conspiracy nuts.
Yeah.
You're all nuts.
Yeah.
Conspiracy atheists. Allowing gays to get married. You're all fucking crazy.
Yeah. Well, you can't, some people just don't want to face the light. They'd prefer to watch the shadow on the cave wall.
Well, people go, well, life ain't that bad, we got heat and shingled roofs. And I'm just like, dude, we could have heat and shingled roofs without the wars and the bullshit.
Without the 40-hour work week.
We don't need it. And if we're not all out working 40 hours a week, we're probably going to consume 3/4 of the oil.
Right.
And
half the electricity.
And if we stop needing to own everything and buy everything, you know what's going to change the fucking world, dude? Is
What's
3D printing.
Yeah,
It's going to, because look, dude, when you
printed
need
a wrench on the space station recently.
dude,
That's
when you need a
fucked.
ping pong you need a ping pong paddle, right? There's no reason why we need to have a ping pong paddle made in China, put on a big boat polluting the water, ship it all the way to New York City where it sits in a harbor that's polluting the harbor, where we put it into a truck and drive it up to distribution channels where we're polluting the air and the roads, sits in the distribution channel, needs heat, needs resources, consume, right? And then it's shipped to the store where it sits forever, where it's sold to you. When it's so much waste, right? They're saying that like the actual price of a ping pong paddle is like $100. Like when you
Really?
like the average, I don't remember. I don't remember. There was a guy who was on, I think it was even Rogan's podcast, who was explaining why a McDonald's cheeseburger really doesn't cost $1; it costs $50.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it's a magical cycle, the passing on of money and how it works. So by the time you buy a McDonald's cheeseburger, to you it's $2, but really there's been a lot of money involved in the movement of what makes that one hamburger. So you'll be able to go down to the store and be like, I need a ping pong paddle. The guy will pull up the program right on his 3D printer, print it out on spot.
Or better yet,
You can add your name to
you'll
it.
be sitting at your laptop and download the print program for a ping pong paddle. What'll be really interesting is when they start to be able to make it so that you can take an object and throw it into like some type of shredder, and it will break it down to its basic material components.
A molecular shredder?
Maybe it'll be molecular. I don't know. My mind is not scientific enough to know what that even means.
I don't even know
really.
what a molecule is.
But like picture like a shredder where you got a empty spray can, you got an old toothbrush, and you got maybe not a used condom, and you got a toenail clippings.
Yeah.
And you throw them all in the shredder, and it separates let's call them molecules.
The raw materials.
In the raw materials, so that like you can go and print anything you want.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't just have to be something simple like
so
a
you
ping
can take
pong
like
paddle.
a stone, throw it in there, and it would separate everything that makes up that stone.
And store them.
Iron breaks it down,
Categorize
iron,
it and store
the
it.
aluminum,
Yeah. So like if you want to print a condom, you could, because there's enough stuff that can make up the latex in there.
Yeah.
Or if you want to print a bullet, you can find all of those materials and put it together.
Yeah, that's first. I think we need to get the 3D printer to just take hold.
Yeah, which it is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, they sell them at Staples now, but they're expensive.
Yeah.
You know.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, shit. VCRs were $1,000.
What's more cool though, see, this is what you don't realize. This is when you go to buy the thing when you realize the true price of it.
Yeah.
So the 3D printer itself is expensive.
Right.
But then they sell what is the cool thing is the 3D scanner.
Oh yeah.
So you put anything you want on this like flat,
Oh no shit.
and it scans it, and then you could literally,
Produce it.
yeah, you could produce this beer bottle.
Oh, that's fucking cool. Yeah.
It's fucking amazing.
It'll all get cheaper, man. Microwaves were $2,000 when they first came out. Now they give them away at gas stations. You know, they're fucking everywhere. Homeless people have microwaves.
They were $2,000.
Yeah, when they first came out, they were fucking big clunky things. VCRs were $1,000 and twice the size that they are now. And now fucking nobody wants a VCR. People throw them out when they don't sell at their yard sales anymore.
Dude, there's a douchebag down the street from me who keeps putting shit on the edge of his road corner for free, but no one wants his shit, and it sits there for months. And I thought it was just going to be like a one-time thing, and I've lived here for like 3 years now, and every weekend. He put out, before a snowstorm, like 5 or 6 TVs and a shitty entertainment system. And it says free.
Why does he have them all?
I don't know if he's like in demo or something and he just finds this stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go down there this summer and I'm going to, late one night, I'm going to get dropped off and I'm going to install a wicked hard to remove no dumping sign. Like,
that's hilarious.
Yeah, like I'm going to fucking climb a tree. I'm going to hang it from a chain. Like if he wants to get this thing down, he's going to have to either climb the tree like a monkey. I'm sick of it, dude. You know what else I was thinking of doing was making it look like it like put the town seal on the sign, like make a really nice wooden sign with the town seal on it.
Under penalty of law?
Yeah, under penalty of law, no dumping. So he's like, "Oh shit, man, the town's gonna get me."
Put like $500 fine.
It's
Something
friggin' it's rude. Just bring it to the dump. It's free. The dump will take them. They're free. They have a whole stack of TVs that get recycled. They go to the proper place to recycle.
Yeah, if it's something somebody's going to take, then I don't see the problem with it. But if it's just going to sit there forever, like who really is going to pick up a ripped up old couch? You know, just because you don't want to bring it to the dump.
Yeah, in the city, it's gone.
Yeah.
Not in the east.
Oh, man, I put out, when I was leaving Chicago, I put a sofa and a love seat out.
Yeah.
And it was down back. I had to go up 3 flights of stairs up my back porch. By the time I was up to the top, somebody was already loading it in the car.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm not down with that. I'm at being like building and stuff like that. I've become like anal on properties now. Like when I was a teenager or in my early 20s, I'd drive by your yard. I'd go to your house. If it was a shithole, I wouldn't even enter my mind. Wow, this guy lives in a shitty house. Mm-hmm. His property's gross.
Now you're a homeowner too.
Now I'm like, dude, I'll like go visit someone and I'll be like, what the fuck? Like, really, dude? Your fucking carpets have holes in them. You know?
Yeah.
Like that. So this guy putting his fucking shit out in the yard. It's like I'm sick of looking at it. It's rude.
Useful. Yeah. What's another way you could?
Well, and it's not his property. That's the thing.
Oh, it's not.
No, so it's a home association, and at the entrance to the home association is a stop sign and a big sign that says Long Meadow Homes or something like that. It's in front of the sign, so it's somebody.
You would think that somebody else would already be complaining about this,
dude. One thing I know from working for home associations.
Yeah, they love complaining.
No one does shit, though.
Oh, really?
They'll just complain to the home association. When are we going to get this problem fixed? And then the guy that sits on the board is like, oh, well, we're working on trying to figure out who's putting the TVs out, you know?
Yeah.
And so no one's going to go down there and freaking... Most of them don't own trucks. They don't have to mow their lawns. They don't have to, you know? So... the shit just sits there. I go drive by in the morning, the kids waiting for the school bus, jumping on the TVs and shit. Playing them.
Maybe you should go the other route with it. You should make the problem so bad that they have to do something about it.
Like start putting my shit there?
Start putting your shit there. Start collecting your buddies' like old shitty TVs and putting them there. Put up a sign at the local dump, like drop your electronics at this address.
I know, right? I should. That's what I'm going to put up. I'm going to put that sign up. Dump your electronics here.
Yeah, it's okay. It's totally fine.
It's totally fine. Dude, I'm doing it. I'm going to take a picture of it, and that's going to be like a podcast cover.
That's good. Yeah, just put up a sign that says, it's totally fine to dump your electronics here.
Yeah,
Go ahead and do it.
Yeah, we're all cool with it.
No problem. That's a great idea. There you go.
I'm gonna do it. Yeah. Are you cold?
Not at all.
Good.
I like it down here. I like podcasting down here.
Yeah, it'd be nice when I finish it.
You got the bar.
2 bars.
That's true. There are 2 bars in this room.
It's got its own toilet and shower, which is nice.
Yeah.
Because if you have the friend who comes over who fucking pukes on himself, you can push him into the captain shower.
You got a lot of those friends coming over?
Not anymore. 5 years ago, it was a commonplace. Definitely. Before I met the missus, it was really common.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yep. I puke the morning after drinking. I never puke the night of drinking.
No?
I have my buddy Numbtooth. He's a night of puker. He'll get hammered drunk and then around 1 in the morning let it all go.
Yeah, me too.
Not me. And it's not, I have to go to bed and wake up for it to happen.
Really?
I can stay up. Like when I went to spring break in Key West, I didn't sleep and I never got hungover. I just drank, stayed up.
Yeah, but you were like 21 back then, weren't you?
22 maybe.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
didn't
I
get
was
hungover
crazy,
back then.
dude. I was insane back then.
Yeah. I can puke anytime. I'm really good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a real good puker. I can puke just from seeing something gross.
Mm-hmm. You got that Swedish stomach.
Yeah, I'm real good at it. I've got it down.
Huh. So, what's the goal after your art show? What are you going to do after that?
After that, I'm going to open my pool.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm not even thinking about it after that. I don't know. We'll see what happens from that. I got this show from the last show, so maybe something will come of this show too.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to be photographing all this new work, and I'm going to be, I guess I do know what I'm going to do, because I'm going to try and put together a catalog.
Yeah.
A small catalog that I can bring to galleries in New York and LA and Amsterdam, places like that.
Yeah.
That's what I need to start doing, is moving out of being just a local artist.
When I was doing a lot of guerrilla marketing,
Yeah.
you know what I would utilize a lot is, those real estate, like you go into a gas station or a hardware store, and they'll have a shelf,
flyer shelf, yeah.
with all real estate shit on it.
Yeah, diners always have those.
Dude, I would literally grab a stack of their real estate books, drop them down, put them all in one row, and then use a whole row for my own flyers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did that with my my furniture postcards.
Yeah. I actually, when I was doing a lot of that, it worked, man. Dude, you can relate everything in life to fishing. Where you put bait, you might catch fish.
Yeah.
It's that simple. If you're ever out there should I be putting these business cards in a laundromat? Don't even think that way. Just think of it as bait in the water, you know?
Yeah, you really can relate everything to fishing.
Oh, you can relate everything to fishing.
Yeah. If you grab the wrong hole, you're going to have a stinky hand.
You can relate everything to fishing and farm animals.
Right.
You know?
However, the information revolution has a weakness, and the weakness is precisely the educational system. The United States has the worst educational system known to science. Our graduates compete regularly at the level of third world countries. So how come the scientific establishment of the United States doesn't collapse? If we're producing a generation of dummies, if the stupid index of America keeps rising every year, just watch network television and reality shows, right? How come the scientific establishment of the United States doesn't collapse? Let me tell you something. Some of you may not know this. America has a secret weapon. That secret weapon is the H-1B. Without the H-1B, the scientific establishment of this country would collapse. Forget about Google. Forget about Silicon Valley. There would be no Silicon Valley without the H-1B. And you know what the H-1B is? It's the genius visa, okay? You realize that in the United States, 50% of all PhD candidates are foreign-born? At my system, one of the biggest in the United States, 100% of the PhD candidates are foreign-born. The United States is a magnet sucking up all the brains of the world, but now the brains are going back. They're going back to China. They're going back to India. And people are saying, oh my God, there's a Silicon Valley in India now. Oh my God, there's a Silicon Valley in China. Duh. Where did it come from? It came from the United States. So don't tell me that science isn't the engine of prosperity. You remove the H-1B visa and you collapse the economy. Then Wall Street Journal editorialized against a congressman who wanted to ban the H-1B, saying they'll take jobs away from the American people. The Wall Street Journal said, look, There are no Americans who can take these jobs. These are at the highest level of high technology. They don't take away jobs from Americans. They create entire industries. And so that's why we have an Achilles heel, and that's the educational system.